Boundless Spirit, pushing the limits of talk radio with Charlene Springer.
Welcome, you're listening to Boundless Spirit Radio with Charlene Springer. And we have as our cool guest today, Inelia Benz. And for those of you who don't know Inelia, ascension101.com. She's a writer, blogger, dreamer, painter, and a musician. Inelia's purpose in this life is to raise the vibration level of this planet. And I think we really need that. Welcome, Inelia. How are you today?
I'm very well. Thank you for inviting me. I'm very honored to be here.
It's so wonderful to have you on. And, you know, our paths crossed many years ago when you were just getting ready to do this.
Yeah.
You were doing, talks before, but then suddenly you said, okay, time to be public. So that was way back 2010. Incredible.
Yeah,
now you said, okay, it's time to go public with all this. So just a background, when you hear Inelia speak, you recognize, she's got a little accent there. So she was born in Chile. And you want to tell us a little bit about that? Because you were still young, but you still kind of understood what was going on. Huh?
Yeah, I was born in Chile in the 1960s. I'm half Mapuche. And there was lots of political and social stuff going on at the time. We ended up political refugees in Argentina and then in England. I grew up in Nottingham in England. And it's been a very, very long trajectory. One of the things that I remember about, I've lived in many other different countries too. I lived in Ireland for 9 years. I went to college there. I lived in Spain for several years, and I went back to Chile as an adult as well for a couple of years. So one of the things I've noticed is that the whole social structure of what's been given to the planet, it's very much orchestrated and controlled to make people fearful and subordinate to others. And the raising the frequency or the vibration of the planet is something that I knew I had to do, but not only I, but I think probably everybody who's listening to this show, and obviously you as well, from the work that you do in empowering individuals, knows that we came here to do this, right?
Mm-hmm. But it was a key part of your life, because then you got pushed, and when they tell you, you get the message, you're like, take it public. You're like, what?
Yeah. Well, I don't see it as push. I see it more like a request.
Mm-hmm.
Source and the human collective and Gaia make lots and lots of requests. And individuals who come in with evolutionary trajectories from other planets or dimensions, they come in from having had received requests as well. And the requests are different to pushes or orders, because it's something that we can say yes to and something we can say no to. So one of the requests that I received was to go public, and that was different to what I was doing before. Before I was teaching and I was training people, and I used to have, I used to mentor individuals that were going public, or they wanted to do something with their lives or change their lives and empower themselves. But it was very low-key. I never used to give out my name very much. All my writings and work used to be big and then my name tiny in the bottom. A lot of the time I wouldn't even use my name. But when I received the call to go public, it was for people to know a face and a name behind the message and behind the tools. And I thought about it for quite a bit, because I'm a very private person. I prefer to observe and work silently in the background. And being public wasn't something that I felt very comfortable with. But it was just when I thought, well, what does it even mean? I went to places and I learned it was just to be myself. Just be myself and just speak my viewpoints and my insights. And that was it. And that's easy because when you're speaking from the heart and when you're speaking your own truth, that's all that matters. And people resonate with it. People use the tools and they step into their own empowerment. And it's been a really, really joyful and wonderful journey. I am now stepping back into the more private mode of writing books and teaching rather than being a public voice. And that's really nice for me as well, I think.
So now what does ascension mean to you?
Ascension to me means an expansion of awareness. When the person moves out of the programs that have been absorbed by them from society, cultures, and other things and other people, beings, and realities, they step out of those programs and their awareness expands. They become aware of who they really are and the power that they have, and can then start creating a reality in themselves or embody the new reality they want to experience here on this planet. And that to me is ascension.
Wow. So what do you teach people when you ask them to come in and go, okay, well, this is Ascension 101. This is what we're going to learn in this process.
Well, I do have some courses actually, and lots of MP3s and things there. And one of the main ones, the first one that I always tell people, if you haven't done anything, or even if you have, I've heard from people who've been in a spiritual path for 40 odd years, and they say, this was really cool. It's the Ascension 101 course, which basically is a course that allows you to reconnect with all your bodies. And what I call bodies are your physical body, your energy body, your ego body, your mental body. And it's a reconnection with them. And then an integration of all your bodies back to yourself. I mean, reclaiming the power of your bodies back onto yourself. And then there's also a meditation to oneness, which expands one's awareness past the self or the individual to a broader or larger perspective of a universal entity.
Oh, beautiful. Beautiful. We have to do that. More ascension. So now, in this process of ascension, what did you see that us as humans, that, where did we begin that disconnect? Because apparently ascension is that wholeness, oneness, and then there was some point in our lives that we did this big disconnect. What are your thoughts on that?
It is a collective agreement. It was a collective agreement because nothing can happen to us individually or as a collective without our consent. And there was a collective agreement to have an experience of separation, and it happened several thousand years ago. When that happened, we became more singular. We started speaking with words instead of telepathy. Telepathy being the universal language of beings or sentient beings, not just on this planet, but many, many planets and dimensions. And when that happened, there was this different perspective onto how we treat each other, how we connect with the earth or disconnect with the earth, I should say, disconnect from the earth, how we treat the earth and how we treat each other when we create structures or social structures, the way those are created, and how they're not really nurturing or optimum. And we do know, and we have the knowledge inside of us of how to create environments and also like groups or cities, towns, villages that are very, very supportive and nurturing to every person living there. But we're not using that because we're still acting and behaving from a place of separation. So that came in a few thousand years ago. And the reason why so many individuals started incarnating around the planet that are awake or had planned to wake up and know that there's a better way to exist as a human being is because we were done with the experience of separation, and the human collective is done with it. Gaia is done with it. And now we have the choice and we have the capacity and ability to move back to a more natural state of being connected, and also each of us being able to embody our power, inherent power of creation, because we create our own reality moment to moment. So it's not like you are sent to somewhere or that there's a shift on the planet. It's more to do with each person incarnating and creating that new reality in their day-to-day life.
Mm-hmm. That's something that people haven't done. I know that because they kind of keep, spirituality, religion in one box, and then they keep, their daily lives in another box. So this integration will change things.
I think so, yes.
So now what role does Pachamama, or Gaia, as you call her, play in all this? And is she going through her own evolution?
I think that what I have perceived is that Gaia, or Pachamama, was already ascended, is already in a very high frequency existence. And what we see and we perceive and what we're doing here at a physical level is our own reality and our own constructs of separation. And she's patiently waiting for us to catch up with her. And once we do, and once we reconnect and unify, then we will be able to experience her in her true form, which is beautiful. Many people can already connect and touch that reality. It feels bubbly, it feels sparkly, it feels full of nurturing, boundless energy. There's no limits, there's no lack of anything. And anybody can tap into Gaia in her true form. And all she wants to do is to nurture us, to support us and love us, because our physical bodies are her babies. We're made of her matter,
So where do we go from here? So you've had people that have completed some of your ascension courses, etc. So then what's different? Is there something physical that happens to us that's different? Or is it spiritual, just spiritual? Or is it just emotional? What happens to us in this ascension process?
Well, to start or to continue on your ascension process or your expansion of awareness process, you don't need my courses. You don't need anything from me. It's inside of you. What I put out there was to assist. And I think it's the best stuff out there, obviously, because I made them. But there's a lot of stuff out there. And whatever resonates that expands your awareness and makes you independent and empowered, use it. And it's to do with stepping into integrity. And integrity is not like a social construct of integrity, but an integrity where you know that you're in resonance with your heart and with your soul and your highest desires. So one of the things that I always say is take responsibility from moment to moment, and don't indulge in low frequency vibrations like anger, fear, envy, and all those other really nasty, sticky stuff that can come up for us moment to moment during the day. When they come up, don't indulge. And there's little tools and things that you can do to move out of that, because it's a moment to moment, second to second thing that we do. And the more we exist and in ourselves, in a high frequency vibration, the more magical things happen around us that reflect that back to us.
So it's like an expansion, basically.
Yeah, it's an expansion of awareness, an expansion of vibration and frequency. But it's also the taking on of that responsibility in yourself. Every time you feel frustrated, angry, fearful, you are actually sending that out. You're amplifying those energies in others and on the planet. You're adding to the oppression of the human race and of all the creatures here. So why do it? Why indulge in those? Don't indulge. make sure that you stay on top of it and step out of those low frequency vibrations and choose a higher one.
I guess you'll be getting a lot of students after the U.S. presidential election.
Well, if people are ready to release all that stuff, because it doesn't really matter. I've just posted something on Facebook today. It doesn't actually matter who gets elected. It's quite irrelevant because they don't rule. I mean, the government gets elected, as David Icke said, every time, and it's like their engagement, whether emotional engagement, mental engagement, or you're putting a tick onto the ballot, or even talking about how important it is or how unimportant it is. Will engage you in emotion that feeds the power over others game. And it's irrelevant to your personal life. It really is. It doesn't really matter who's there. Somebody else rules anyway. And what we should be concentrating on is for example, the unification of the native nations from around the world that's happening right now in Standing Rock. That unification hasn't been real. It hasn't happened for thousands of years. That used to be there, that unification, that energy of unity being one used to be there for the whole planet. And now all these native nations from around the world are coming together and rebirthing it, bringing it back. And I know it's to do with something like standing against something, right? It started with standing against the oil pipe going through sacred land. And now it's more to do with standing together to protect the land and people. It's people, really, because if you think about it, if we destroy our environment, the ones that are going to suffer are the human beings, really, and all the other creatures that are dependent on those environments. But Gaia will continue, and other creatures will pop up that flourish in those environments. I know that there's, for example, a fungi that does really well and has grown inside Chernobyl reactors, and so there are other creatures that will flourish, but we won't, right? So it's up to us. And one of the spirits of the Native Americans was that they were stewards of the earth, and as stewards of the earth, we ensure that the environment stays pure and clean and nurturing, supportive of human life and other animal and plant life that we know and is here. That's the nature of stewardship. But if this is a junction point, you can either choose to be afraid and go into the election stuff and all the other stuff that's going on around the planet. That's very fearful. And I can tell you trillions of dollars are spent every day to keep us in a fearful state, a frustrated state, an angry state, very stressful state. Or you can focus your attention on the unification that's happening for the first time in thousands of years of all these native tribes. And of course, all of us around the planet are native to this planet. So you can simply make a statement like, I unify us, I unify us. If you say that out loud enough times, you will start breaking through the barriers and programs that come up. Could be fear, could be anger, it could be sadness, it could be, and then you start feeling love and connection and that amazing gratitude and the amazingness of who and what we really are here. The word being humane didn't come out as an accident. When we say somebody's being humane, we mean being kind, thoughtful of others, caring and nourishing. That's what humane means. So that's from human, That's our true nature.
Now, us going through this unification process, because it's so funny that, here you are talking ascension, so we see where there's something that connects to that. You've got the tribes unifying, something that hasn't happened in, so long. So what else, who else is affected by this? Because do we have, in your sense, they always talk about inner earth people. We talk about people in other galaxies, other dimensions. Is everyone affected by us completing this task?
There are those species that are connected to us through DNA, and they are affected. They didn't think about that at the time when they took our DNA or mixed their DNA with us. They didn't think about it. But the effect does go both ways, and a lot of them are kind of in a little bit of a shock right now, thinking, "Oh my gosh, how do we stop this?" And others that still don't know anything about it. But yeah, they're our brothers and sisters from the stars, and some of them are not so kind with regards to what they do here on the planet and with the human species, but the majority are, I'd say the majority would be very, very kind, or at least not interested in us. But there are many who will say, there are many native nations, including the Mapuche, from where I'm from, down south of Chile. And also some of them, the Eskimos, will talk about this too, say that the star people are ancestors, they put us here, and that our trip and our journey was here to become stewards of the earth. We're supposed to look after everything here. So, and I know that there's other locations. There's some locations in Europe, and there's some locations in Africa, and some locations in the East that will talk about, in Asia, that talk about the Anunnaki, and they talk about them having created a human species that are slaves and workers. And I believe that that did happen, and that DNA is spread and has affected our planet quite a bit. But it is also true that many, many people, native peoples from around the world, were not slaves, where they were stewards and caretakers, and here to flourish and learn and expand and be united always. And so we all carry human DNA. We're all brothers and sisters from around the world. And wherever we put our focus of attention and our emotions, that's what's going to become strong. Whether it's negative or positive emotion, it becomes strong. So I would say put your attention, and we have a unique opportunity here of this Standing Rock situation where so many nations have come forward, and including the cowboys, and it's like, focus on that, because if you tap into that unification energy, and it doesn't matter what it is now, it doesn't matter that it was the pipeline, although it'd be really great if that came into the entire human collective to say, you know what, we really have to be more careful with these things. We really have to listen to the people that are living in villages that get flooded for electricity, for dams, and for the oil that's being pulled out, and all these type of things. So maybe we should be more careful. Maybe we should listen more. Maybe we should start using the 0 point energy, the free energy. And maybe it's time, and that this unification and this unity expands us, but also connects us to each other. And knowledge like that and the technology that supports us can no longer be kept secret. So, I mean, if we already had those, I know that oil is used for materials and other things, but that's not the way to do things. It's like, we don't have to do it that way. I mean, I'm not dictating that's not the way to do it, actually, but it's like we can really step into that, or simply focus. If we do like oil and we use it all the time, then we can just focus on the unity energy. The fact that this hasn't happened, this unification among people around the world and among the native peoples around the world, hasn't happened for literally thousands of years. Because the stuff that's happening in the US and all of the Americas or Africa or Asia or Europe even, hasn't, the killing of so many indigenous people from all of those lands didn't just happen a few hundred years ago, or even a couple of thousand years ago. The disconnect happened way before that, and that's why people were able to be eliminated from all these lands and countries. And it's like I was looking at the whole thing in the Americas, but also half of me is European, you know. I have a lot of Spanish blood and Italian and Irish blood. And I was looking at that, my lineage from those locations, and there were the native people from Europe were eliminated some 100 years ago, a couple of thousand years ago as well. They were, there's some movies that talk a little bit about it, you know, the ones about the Irish or the Scottish. There's a little bit about that. But it was a very, very orchestrated and thought out process to eliminate anybody. And when I say native people, I'm actually mean the individuals who remembered and had the connection of being stewards of the land and had a connection with each other, could communicate telepathically still, and had the power of manifestation that was very, very readily available. And those were the ones that were refused to give up that knowledge and that wisdom were the ones that were targeted and are still being targeted. So it's good to reconnect, I think, and if you can just focus on that reconnection and that knowledge to be able to manifest, the knowledge to be able to connect or communicate at an experiential level is in all of us. Every single person on the planet has this. And if only we could deprogram the thoughts and other bundles of data in our bodies that say you're powerless, you're helpless, and you're a victim, or you're an aggressor, or you can't do anything, you just have to survive, and you're full of fear. All those programs, if we could just look at them, observe them, and allow them to dissolve, then every single person would be extremely powerful. And it's one of those things, you know, it's like many of these individuals who have worked for the government and then come out and talk about it, they will say, what is the shadow government or the people who are ruling the planet most afraid of? And it is that the people around the planet become aware of how powerful they are. And I'm not just saying powerful in their physical, or what they can do, or protesting, or protecting, or anything, but powerful in their mystical energy, in their capacity to manifest, in their capacity to embody the new paradigm. When people realize how powerful they are, oh my gosh, their life totally changes. It's awesome to watch and observe.
That's funny. I was just going to ask you that question. A lot of this being a part of a master plan, let's say shadow master plan, that they have triggered certain things. So a lot of emotion, a lot of fear, a lot of discourse, a lot of separation. So as I was going to ask, is this a part of a big master plan to shift us the other way, to not have ascension happen, you know?
You know, they are trying really, really hard to stop us. Really, really hard to stop the human collective from waking up and taking back their power. They're trying really, really hard. Again, they spend trillions of dollars. We spend very little, right? We don't really have that trillions of dollars to spend on the other side, empowering the masses. Yet, it's a wave that cannot be stopped. There has never been on the planet so many people who are awake, so many people who are healing others, so many people who are educating others. I mean, how many, if you do a search just on the word ascension, hundreds of thousands of pages pop up. If you do a search word of personal empowerment, oh my gosh, that has never been seen before, and it's real. There's thousands, if not millions of individuals around the planet who are actively working day to day on their own personal empowerment and the empowerment of others, on healing themselves, healing their neighborhoods, and reconnecting, connecting back to who they are as well as with others. So yeah, it cannot be stopped.
Because I know we've seen the drive where people are doing more farming, neighborhood farming, backyard farming, apartment farming, anything to reconnect with the earth again, because they're touching earth again. So I think that also has an influence. Wow. So these new kids coming in, you know, we have these new children coming in, because you were if I remember correctly, I can't find it anymore, but I thought I remember you being a little special when you were younger. That I can't remember if it was you remembered stuff from before, or I can't remember what it is, but what was it? You remember?
Well, as a child, I knew that the world had to buzz better, and that's why I was here. I also knew that I didn't have a history before I was born. I wasn't a singular being before I was born. And I knew that once my body died, I wouldn't have a singular existence after that either. So I didn't have any personal agendas to evolve or to ascend or anything else. It was very, very specific. The world has to buzz better. It's a call. It's something that we're being requested to do. And it took me a long time to figure it out, but also because I was able to connect so easily, and also I didn't know that I had to stay hidden for so many years, although I was told to stay hidden, that I was too vulnerable. I wasn't smart enough or street smart enough to survive the attacks that might come if I was to show myself before I was smart enough to do it. I actually did show myself and became disabled through several attacks that I wasn't able to counterattack or defend myself against. So I learned my lesson, and became very humble about it. I was a teenager at the time and thought I could take on the world. You know how teenagers know everything, right? Nobody can defeat them. Yeah, I was like that. So anyways, it didn't go down very well for me for many, many years. But as a child, I was like, I had like visitations from physical contact with extraterrestrials, and I remembered where I came from. I remember what we were here to do. When I was around 3 or 4, I can't remember. I was before school. My brother was already in school, and he could read and write, and he was 4 years older than me. So I was really young. I was looking at one of his books, and they had a castle in it with some people fighting over the castle. It was a history book. And I went to my mom and said, "Mommy, what are these people doing? Why are they hurting each other?" And my mom looked at it and she says, "Oh, that's war. They're at war with each other." And I asked her to explain what war was, and she was telling me all about war. And I said, "My goodness, it's a good job we don't have those anymore." And my mom looked at me and says, "I'm sorry, baby, but we do with this one in Vietnam right now." And when I saw that, I realized what timeline I was in, and I freaked out. I started crying and screaming, and I said, "I can't do this. I can't stay here. There's no way I'm going to survive this. It's horrible." And I cried and cried and cried. And after the third day, I was crying, but nothing was coming out because my throat was raw, It was just the movements. My parents had tried everything to calm me down, and they couldn't. And then I started fading, so they took me to hospital and they injected me with Valium. This is the 60s, right? Valium was the magic,
the go-to drug.
Everything, They injected me with Valium, and I remember falling asleep. And then when I woke up, everything was fine. Everything was perfect. And, everything, I could cope with everything, and, it was fine. But
how long were you on Valium?
No, they just injected me once to put me to sleep, to get me to go to sleep. Because I hadn't slept for 3 days, I hadn't eaten, I was just screaming for 3 days. So. But that's the type of reaction that you would have if you came in with the full knowledge, right? But a lot of people who came in to do this work didn't make it past childhood or even babyhood because of it. Because you're such a bright light, the individuals around you who are still half asleep or fully asleep get manipulated and triggered to disable you. So many people who came here to raise the vibrational frequency of the planet had a really tough time of it, with people attacking them, like really nasty things happening from their neighbors or their family, their parents and their siblings, because anybody and everybody who was around them would be used to try and take them down, to disable them, and to let them disconnect from their spirit, or to just, become depressed or go into drugs or something like that. Anything will work. Anything like that brings a person down in frequency and vibration will work as far as the other side is concerned. So they try everything. And that's why I say, take responsibility. Don't indulge in those anymore. Drop your stories. We all had a hard time here, so drop those stories. And express your inner light. Express the true high frequency vibrational being that you are in every way, every moment, every second.
So do you think that's a key part as to after your outburst, that they kept you hidden? Was this your parents keeping you hidden, or just you were cloaked?
I was cloaked.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I had 2 little guys that used to hang out with me from that moment, actually. I think they used to hang out with me. I thought they were children at the time. But now that I've educated myself a bit more, I know they weren't children. They were little, they had little bodies, their heads were bigger than normal. They looked human to me. Big eyes though, really big eyes, and little lips and little noses. They wore wigs and they wore children's clothes, so they would hang out with me with those. At the time I thought they would dress funny, but and they were really joyful and helpful and nice to me. And they taught me so much. When one of my parents were both professors at the local university, and they tested us for intelligence and awareness. And one of their friends wanted to test us after they saw us playing in our house. And so this group of individuals came in with all these little puzzles and machines and all sorts of things to test us. And this little friend said, okay, now you have to act and behave like a little girl, like a little human girl, and this is what you're going to do. So whenever I would look at all these shapes and think, oh, that's a puzzle. I love puzzles. And I say, I want to put them together. No, don't put them together. You have to grab one of the pieces and put it in your mouth and suck it. I was like, why would I do that? And he says, just do it. Trust us. We don't want them to know that you can put that puzzle together. Why? Because it will be bad for you. It's going to be bad news. I said, okay. So I just grabbed one of the pieces and put it in my mouth. So yeah, so that little things like that, on a physical level, but also energetically, I had to put in various shields. They felt really thick and heavy, and they started coming out in the year 2000. That was the first time I received, okay, you can start removing the shields now. And I did, and I started removing them, and instantly people started responding. The first one actually was, I was in a park and we were reclaiming the park. I mean, I've been doing this stuff. My sister is a very social activist, and there was a park that was a historical little plaza in Seville, Spain, and it had a lot of history, a lot of stories, but it was being run down by crack addicts and dealers, and it was nasty. It was nasty. And the government decided they were going to just level it all and put a car park there for the city. So my sister and another group of, like I said, local native people, like the gypsies and others, like ancient Spanish families, started getting. We used to go there every Sunday and sell books and just take over the place, put flowers everywhere, clean it up, and the dealers will run away because they didn't like to be in the spotlight. They didn't like to be looked at, so they would run away. And it started like that, very slowly. And I was just sitting with my little table, selling some books and secondhand books and some little trinkets that I'd made and stuff, and my sister's stuff as well, and she's an artist. She paints, and she's quite well known over there, actually. And I get okay, you can remove the big one, the big shield, and I thought, really? Oh, that's awesome, because it's so heavy. So I removed it, and I go, oh God, that feels so good. And I was just sitting there, with my eyes closed, just breathing in, thinking, oh my God, this feels so good. And a lady, totally random lady, comes up to me and she says, I'm trying to, I can't remember what she's talking about. I think it was something to do with learning to meditate or something. I don't know what it was, but it was something to do with her own empowerment and stepping out of what situation she was in or unable to step out of. And I was like, whoa, how did that happen? This random lady from the street, she sits next to me and starts asking me these things because people can see, you don't have to advertise or anything. People can sense it. And it was safe for me to do that at the time. Mm-hmm. And as the years went by, I was safe to take more and more layers out. And that's why I already had students and work and everything before the call came in to be public. And I had to process a lot of fears about that too, because I literally received mails and letters with death threats about it. If you continue saying those things, and if you continue being public, we're going to kill you, we're going to kill your child, and all these things. It's like, okay, how do you respond to that? Well, you don't engage and you don't agree. Nobody can stop you. So, and if anybody around you is open to being a tool for disempowerment of yourself or others, they're really not worthy to be around you. It's better that they're not around you. So if you move out of the fear, you step out of the fear and step into I'm doing this and I don't care what you think. There's no agreement. I don't agree with you, and I don't agree with the even being afraid. Because once you're afraid, you're kind of thinking that they can do it, Fear is one of those giving permission to the other to hurt you. So after processing that and everything, I went on and did my stuff, and it has helped. I mean, the website has had millions and millions of people reading the articles and downloading the tools and everything. It's worked. Mm-hmm. It's worked.
So is that part of, because you still get, people say mean things about you still online. So how do you handle that now?
Well, people can say anything they want in their mind, in their reality. The things that they're saying are real, And who am I to say that their reality is not true? I can't. Mm-hmm. And to me, I tell my truth and I tell my viewpoints and my insights, regardless of whether people hear them, listen to them or not. I'm simply stating them. And I always say, if something resonates with you, try it out. Listen to it and try it out. If it doesn't, drop it. And that goes for me too. If somebody listens to me and it doesn't resonate with them at all, drop me. That's the right thing to do. Now, if people come in and insult me on my Facebook page or on my website, I delete them and ban them because I don't want to spoil their reality, It's like, they can keep their reality as they are. I don't have any judgment on their reality creation. I'm working and spending all my time and energy on those individuals who have chosen to step into empowerment and who have chosen to improve our lot here on the planet and make it a nurturing, loving, caring planet for all of us. That's the individuals I spend all of my time and energy on, not the ones that are programmed or the ones that are being paid to insult. I mean, who cares what people say about you, right? So it's actually...
We know.
I know, right? So spend the time on those who are ready to step into their power. They're worth it. They're worth all your time.
So when did you decide that you were a writer?
Before I started school, actually, I was tiny and I wanted to write a book, but I didn't know how to write. I didn't know how to write or read yet. So my brother showed me a cartoon, a comic book, and he said, you don't need to learn words to be able to tell stories. Look, my books use pictures. So he then put together some sheets of paper. He cut one of these, what's it called? The A4 papers in 3. So he made 3 strips out of them. And then he stapled them together. So I had 10 or 20 pages. And he said, okay. And he divided them into little boxes. So you had 3 little pictures on each strip. He says, you draw your story there. So I did. I drew the story, and that was my first book before I could read or write. And I've been writing my entire life. I have never stopped. I wrote some short stories that got sold as a teenager. I was so stoked about that. And books and everything. But my first book published in, I don't know, year 2000 or something like that. But yeah, it's like I've always been writing. I've never stopped writing. It's one of my favorite activities on the planet. It's like, if anybody asks me what's your favorite activity? What do you like to do best? I think writing. It's like, what do you like to eat? What's your favorite meal? Writing. Okay, you can't eat writing, but it kind of feels that way because it nourishes you, you know, it's like so awesome. And I don't take, the stories and the characters that come through or the people that I've talked to, they're real. They're not like, they want their story to be told. And writing novels is an awesome way to be able to tell their story without, the whole, you know, having to say who they are or make them public or prove anything, because a novel you don't have to prove. It's all in your imagination, right? So it's a great way for people to also open themselves up to different possibilities, because it's just a novel. So yeah.
Yeah, that much I figured. So some of the books you've written, you wrote Interview with an Alien, The 13th Mage, Interview with a Psychic Assassin. That looks really interesting. I got to read that one. Yeah. And then your last one is Personal and Global Ascension, 2012 to 2017.
Yeah.
So my one.
I also have another. It's called Are You a Witch?
Oh.
Yeah. Are You a Witch was written.
Okay.
Yeah, that one was written in the 90s. And
wow. I haven't seen that one.
Yeah, I've recently republished it. We edited it again, brought it up to date, and it's released again. So yeah. Are You a Witch?
Oh, okay. I have to look for that one. Well, I've been called many names.
Yeah.
So now the 13th Mage, that seemed fascinating. And of course, Interview with a Psychic Assassin. What's that about?
The Interview with a Psychic Assassin is the story of a girl who was taken into what we might call the MK Ultra system. It wasn't the MK Ultra because that's more military based, you know, with weapons, and they do still use psychic kids in those. But it's more to do with the agencies that have dealt with their more mystical, weaponizing mystical capacities, basically. And she was given a target, and the target was a guy who was a light worker, who was designing new forms of community living and society. So she was supposed to disable him. And again, like I said, when you disable somebody, it doesn't necessarily mean kill. It can be, although sometimes it is, but most of the time it would be get them into drug addiction or distracted with drama, get the other people to attack them, all sorts of things that will get them off their path. That's how a lot of this stuff is done. And but then they kind of met and fell in love with each other. So it's a love story. It's a love story. And then he gets disabled completely, and he wasn't by her, so she's trying to protect him. And then a whole thing happens.
Who are you in this one?
I'm the interviewer. I interview them.
Okay.
I'm just telling these people stories, you know?
Yeah, we'll talk more about that. We've got a woo hour coming up, so yeah, we'll talk more about that.
And I'm presently writing, I'm on the very last chapter of Interview with an Angel, which is amazing. It's just if you want to talk about expansion of your heart, of your awareness, and just reconnecting, when you read this book, you're going to have all that. It's really beautiful.
What's your experience of reconnecting to source? Because I know what I felt, and I know what other people have felt, and I see some similar strains. So what's your feeling or your emotion? What happens to you when you connect to source?
Well, I've been asked this question before, actually. And at first I had to think about it really hard. Because to me, it was the opposite. For me, the hard work is to disconnect from source. And you think, but why on earth would you do that? And the reason was because I couldn't, it was a way to be able to communicate. I didn't know how to communicate to other people that the world or themselves needed to buzz better, right? And individuals, you need to buzz better. How do you communicate that? And so to me, it was disconnect or like pull away and have a more of a physical experience or more low frequency experience. Yeah, or more human. And it's not just human, because there's other species that are also involved in the low frequency stuff, right? So it was to do with that, and on a day-to-day basis, it is a struggle for me to find or exist in a way in which things are important, like physical survival is important, or our relationships are important, or as a mother, I have to take care of my children. That's important. So I have to revamp and reconnect to all those things which are the opposite of connecting to source. And one might think, well, source is all loving and it's all joy and it's all this and that. Why wouldn't those things be important, right? But it's because it's a low frequency existence that we're living presently on the planet. So to connect to those relationships, it has to be, at the moment, it's only possible from a low frequency vibration. And also, source for us might be joy, light, love, but from other beings, they have a different source. It could be something else. It could be purple, cold, and yellow. That might be source. Or it could be anger, fear, and envy could be source, So there's different sources, and when we say reconnect with source, what does that feel like? It's how it feels depends very much on the person and what their source is. So, yeah. And I know that probably everybody who's listening here today, their source is the one that we know throughout the world, which means nirvana, which means universal consciousness, which means light, which means pure unconditional love. It means joy and satisfaction. That's the type of source that we're probably talking about, right?
Yeah.
So to me, my source was the field of infinite potential. It didn't have a color. It didn't have an energy or feeling. It was just infinite potential. That's what the furthest I can go back to my personal source. After that, there was oneness. And then at the moment of oneness, there was separation, because then the I and other exists. And even though oneness contained everything, every time, every moment, every subject, every object, every thought that has ever existed and that will any time ever exist, it contains all that. Every color, every source that one could possibly imagine. It contains all of that. The source that brought me here was the one that's based on joy, light, love, and that's why I work towards that request. The one that expands awareness, the one where each individual becomes an empowered individual. And I live and I use my own tools. And I live in a way in which it's an empowered life. I have an empowered life. I have a beautiful life. And it's that I think that part of being public was to present a truth of that, and that people can map to or tune into, like, because this is the best way that humans learn. Humans learn best by observing and by tuning in to other people and watching them and see how they do it. Right.
Mm-hmm. So be the change you want to see.
Yeah, basically, right? Who said that? Was it Gandhi or something?
I think so, yeah. Or they say Gandhi said it. So now someone's starting on this path, just kind of awakening, just saying, something's not quite right here. There's got to be more to life than this. So how would they approach you, and what would be some of the things that they would encounter, and where would they start?
Well, if you've just started, I would say a couple of things. I would say be very wary, follow your intuition and your own resonance, learn to discern truth from falseness, and that's a very easy thing you can do. You can do a little exercise. For example, you can say, my given legal name is, and just take your legal given name. My name is Inelia. My legal given name is Inelia, and then sense your energy bodies, your physical body, how it feels when you state that. If you say, and then say a falsehood, so I would say my legal given name is Juliana, and that gives me a shiver throughout my body. It's like a cold air that went through my body, and that means it's a falsehood. So when you start receiving information, whether it's directly through your own source or whether you start reading stuff on the internet or buying books or following teachers or guides, what you need to do is tap it into your own physical body and let your physical body let you know what is real, what is coming from ego, what's being hijacked. And you know something? Sometimes you have a teacher that's awesome and will tell you and teach you lots and lots of stuff that's really, really good. But one tiny little thing will be dissonant to you. And you go, whoa, I don't know about that. What I say is drop that, because every single teacher on the planet has their own programs and they haven't released all of them. So sometimes they're still carrying some of them. And sometimes they have a bit of ego injected in there and other things. But that doesn't mean that all their stuff is bad. Just drop the bit that doesn't resonate with you and use and learn from the other stuff. But also look at how they live. Are they happy? Are they successful in their life? Happy? Are they happy? Are they really, really happy? And if they are, then go ahead and see what they have to say. The other thing is, with my stuff, if you are in a situation, because a lot of light workers have been taught that poverty is an honorable thing, and that the world is going to support you, and that money is evil. Okay, so if you're programmed like that, you're going to be disempowered, because money is chi, it's ability to do. If you have money, you can do stuff. Imagine the light workers of the world, if they had trillions of dollars to spend on the ascension of the planet, how that would pan out, right? That's why you've been taught and programmed into thinking poverty is a good thing or that money is a bad thing. So if you're still programmed that way, go to my website. There's a little location that says tools. Click on that. There's many, many tools that are free and will get you deprogrammed. There's one especially called Reconnecting with the Spirit of Money. Do that one. And you're going to start being empowered in your ability to do at a financial level. And then do the reconnection with Gaia exercise. And there's lots of different tools there. And once you have enough, you can support us or support my work by sending me a donation or buy some of the products. That's how we stay alive. This is how the staff members and myself stay alive and live and happy and can do more things and more projects. So
the cycles of life.
Absolutely, yeah. I support those who inspire me. I send donations anytime that I can. I send donations to people who inspire me. And sometimes those people are, their financial status is irrelevant. I've sent money to a billionaire. I've sent money to organizations. I've sent money to individuals like that are not necessarily public, you know? So if somebody inspires me, I will support them. I will empower them. And that's how, because you breathe in and you breathe out. Inspiration is you breathe in. They allow you to breathe in, these individuals or organizations do. So I breathe out, and when I breathe out, I send them chi, I send them power, I send them money, because with money they can buy food and continue inspiring others, right?
That works.
Yeah.
So your website is www.ascension101, like the letters the numbers 101.com.
Yeah.
And your books are also found. Where are your books found?
There's a tab there that says books. You can find them there. And also, if you go to lulu.com and do a search on Inelia Benz, you'll find all my books. If you like the physical books, you can go to lulu.com. I publish them through them. And and my ebooks are all at my website, so ascension101.com, and you go to tools, and I think the e-store. The e-store will have the books.
Okay. Have you done any audiobooks?
There's lots of MP3s there. Lots and lots.
Okay.
I haven't actually read. I plan to do. I'm finishing this novel, the Interview with an Angel one. Once I'm done with finishing that, I'm going to start doing all the novels as audiobooks.
Oh, so beautiful.
That's going to be a lot of fun. Yeah.
It's going to be beautiful. Well, Inelia Benz, we are so grateful that you took the time to talk to us today, to tell us a little bit about yourself and the wonderful work that you're doing on the planet. And,
thank you so much.
Sharing that energy with us. Thank you. And as I said, you can find more information on Inelia Benz at her website, www.ascension101.com. And we love it. We love it. This is really good. So thanks again for hanging out with us today. And, check out the donation thing, because you also have a project called the Global Ascension Center.
Absolutely,
you didn't
yes.
talk about that.
I
Sorry.
know. Yeah, and that's very, very up today. It's about sacred land, so yeah.
And where is this?
Center. This is a piece of land that we have in Washington State, and it's accessible by anybody and everybody. And there's a globalascensioncenter.org website where you can watch a YouTube video of how to enter sacred land. Once you do that, you can enter the sacred land and reconnect with Gaia in that piece of land. It's open to everybody. It's something that I wanted to do because most of the sacred lands around the planet are being kept separate, and sometimes some of them are being destroyed, but a lot of them are being looked after by tribes and don't allow anybody unless you're a tribe member to be there. This one is open to everyone. So anybody who wants to reconnect, I should say not everyone, but everyone who wants to reconnect with Gaia, with Pachamama, or themselves, and brothers and sisters from the stars, anybody who wants to reconnect and be united with that higher self, higher vibration frequency and everything, can go to this land, sit there in meditation and reconnect. It's already activated. It's about 12% right now activated. And everybody that comes in and sits with that higher frequency vibration will activate it more. So, yeah, go there.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, thanks again for being with us. And if you want to continue listening to Inelia, you can check out the Woo Hour with Inelia Benz. And it's going to be fun. So you're listening to Boundless Spirit Radio. Thanks again for tuning in with our wonderful interview with Inelia Benz. See you next time.
Boundless Spirit goes off the rails. Next up in our members-only segment, the Woo Woo Hour. Whether it's happening on the planet, off the planet, or inside the planet, host Charlene Springer, expert guests, and you dare to go there in the Woo Woo Hour.